Feeling a little juiced up, ready to roll. So I wanted to make some more commentary. I uploaded as a premiere, Loki and Thor's Great Reset yesterday. Was that yesterday? Last night? Yeah, something like that. Last night. Talking about the Rahu Jupiter conjunction in sidereal Aries, which was on June 1st. They were perfectly conjunct, but it's a slow buildup. Jupiter takes a year to change a sign, Rahu takes a year and a half. So they move slow, the conjunctions build up slow. We feel it for a long time, before and after. So let's talk about this a little bit. There are always things I don't say that I mean to say. So that's the goal of this. Hopefully I don't repeat myself too much. But again, I call this Thor and Loki's Great Reset because one, Jupiter, the Norse archetype, the Norse persona for planet Jupiter is Thor. Because these planets are the bodies of the gods. And these planets, these stars are they're conscious beings. They're higher dimensional beings. So they're extremely aware and powerful, and they live for billions of years. So they're more or less immortal, relative to humans. So yeah, so that's Jupiter is Thor in the Norse pantheon, and then Rahu, the north node of the moon, the dragon's head. This is Loki, aka Lucifer, aka Phosphorus, Prometheus, a trickster god. So Jupiter, Thor, higher consciousness, the spiritual teacher of the cosmos. And Loki, Rahu is the Kickstarter, the awakener. These trickster gods, Lucifer included, they're not Satan's, devils, evil ones. They help break humanity and even the other gods out of arrogance, complacence, comfort zones. So Loki's a Kickstarter and starts things. Jupiter tends to overcommit to things. Neither one of them really see things through. But what they do is when they come together, they work together. So Jupiter is known as the only planet that can harmonize and basically control Rahu and Ketu, dragon's head, dragon's tail, north and south nodes of the moon. And then they're both expanders, so they feed off of each other and expand each other's energy. But Rahu is kind of takes on the energy of whatever it's with. So Rahu is helping to expand the spirituality, the higher consciousness of Jupiter, and the adherence to natural law, because Jupiter is the priest that teaches natural and spiritual law. Now, what Rahu brings to the table, though, to influence Jupiter, as the trickster, it's extremely unconventional. It's extremely unconventional. Does off-the-wall shit. It's inventive. Tricksters invent new ways of thinking and doing things because, again, humanity and the gods get steeped in comfort zones. They get complacent. They get arrogant. They don't want to change. They get stubborn and rigid. And the tricksters, Rahu, Loki, Lucifer, Phosphorus, Prometheus, they come along and they say, nope, not going to do it that way anymore. Been there, done that. So again, especially Loki, Lucifer, these names come from Luca, Lukke. And even the Irish god Lu comes from Luca. So it's the spark that starts a forest fire when lightning basically hits the dead wood in the forest. Because forest fires are natural things that keep the forest healthy. They burn away the dead wood. So, Jupiter, Thor, that's the lightning. So that's the bolt of lightning. The flash from the bolt and then the spark, that is Loki, Lucifer, Rahu, Lu. So, and this is why in the mythology, this is one of the points I left out of my, premiere video. Loki and Thor are best friends. in the mythology. They're always traveling together, they're always working together. When Thor has a problem, he asks Loki, what do we do? Because again, Loki's unconventional, he's creative, he's inventive. He creates new things, he channels ideas no one else has before. So he breaks stagnation, he's a kickstarter, gets things rolling. So yeah, Loki and Thor are best friends. They're always together. They're constant collaborators. And even when Loki causes trouble that pisses Thor off, Thor will end up accompanying him and helping him complete the task. But Thor's always going to Loki for, you know, for help. So they work extremely well together. You put the two together, they work extremely well. But, like I said in the longer video, they lack follow through. Jupiter is the person who overcommits, wants to make everybody happy, but overcommits, doesn't have enough time or energy to get it done. Rahu, Loki, is a Kickstarter. Doesn't exist. It's not his purpose to see things through. It's his purpose to help you get started with things and to move on to the next thing. So, but like I was saying, Saturn oversaw the whole thing. And all three of these, Jupiter, Rahu, Loki, Jupiter, Rahu, Saturn, they all have a role helping we the people. Jupiter's the protector of the earth and the people. Rahu, Lucifer, Loki, Lu, that is the hope of the people because they're also your present life karma, the things that you came into this present incarnation to do, to accomplish, to obtain fulfillment. And then Saturn is like the one who fights for the underdog, like a public servant, fights for the people. Um, so Saturn played a big role. So again, the last time that Rahu and Jupiter met in sidereal Aries was May 1929. That was the catalyst for globalism as we know it that started during the Great Depression and World War II, especially with the formation of the United Nations after World War II. That one world order that it pretends to protect the people, but it protects the interests of the multinationals and helps the multinationals do business across borders without, governments standing up for their people. That's what the UN does. So back in 1929, Jupiter and Rahu basically cooked up a half-assed Ponzi scheme, which was the UN, the world, the IMF, International Monetary Fund, the World Bank. So that was a half-assed Ponzi scheme, and it was the prevailing world order from about 1945 through 2020. I call that the World War II party. Well, the World War II party's over, and we're going to get a new order here, but it's not going to be somebody's half-assed Ponzi scheme. It's going to be based on spiritual law, natural law. And Saturn has seen to this. Saturn is the master of the 3D, the judge, the enforcer of spiritual law and natural law. So pretty neat. Saturn was not in a position to help in 1929 when Jupiter and Rahu came together. Saturn was in Sagittarius. Not a debilitated sign, but it's a very uncomfortable place for Saturn to be in. Sagittarius is kind of like Jupiter's frat house, where it's like Jupiter's just so all inclusive. It's like in Sagittarius, it's like anything goes. It's like the movie Animal House or Van Wilder or some shit. Well, Saturn was not in a position to help in 1929. Very different, this past week. Saturn's in Aquarius, one of Saturn's home signs. The other home sign's Capricorn. In Capricorn, Saturn gives you tough love. In Aquarius, it gives you gifts. He gives you gifts. So, yeah. So, we've got something good cooking up here. It's gonna take probably about 10 years to, you know, get the new order of the world rolling, but it's on the way. So there's a lot to look forward to. But the globalists, the deep state will not go quietly, and we'll feel that in the next 10 years. So, yeah, hang in there. Don't buy the hype. And, you know, no one's coming to save you. Always remember that. That's one of the most toxic things about especially Christianity, that somebody's coming to save you. That steals power. It steals power from people. Now, there's one way you can take it where, where there's this whole thing about, God or Jesus or whatever is going to save you. The value in it is that it teaches people, to keep their ego in check and trust in higher powers. Now, that much, it's like, yeah, that higher power it's really your soul, because your soul is a small part of this force that's called God, but that's the value in it. But what it's been used by institutional leaders is to make people sit back, and it basically gave people mommy and daddy issues. It exacerbated the natural mommy and daddy issues that humans have, and it just teaches people, well, don't stand up against authorities because Jesus is coming to save you. Well, that's not true. You have to, everybody saves themselves. And that was the great sin of the pagan cultures, and the reason why Christianity and Islam and even Buddhism did their damnedest to wipe them out. Um, just the followers of Jesus have wiped out like over 50 million people for his sake. Same with Islam, same with Buddhism. So Saturn, Jupiter, Rahu, these forces, these deities will, help us to save ourselves if we're up to the task. So, all right, I'm going home. Have a nice one.